No, I meant ADL. Sorry, not EDL. ADL is not EDL. No, he fought EDL in his youth. He fought in the UK. He talked about it already. Oops.
Very much. Thanks for everyone who stood up. Unnecessary, but very flattering. Thank you, Jonathan, for your very kind words. Thank you, the Anti-Defamation League, for this recognition and your work in fighting hate and bigotry. And to be clear, when I say hate and bigotry, I'm not referring to the names of Stephen Miller's Labradoodles. Now, I realize that some of you may be thinking, what the hell is a comedian doing speaking at a conference like this? I certainly am. I've spent most of the past 2 decades in character. In fact, this is the first ever time that I've stood up and given a speech as my least popular character, Sacha Baron Cohen.
True.
And I have to confess, it is terrifying. I realize that my presence here may also be unexpected for another reason. At times, some critics have said my comedy risks reinforcing old stereotypes. The truth is, I've been passionate about challenging bigotry and intolerance throughout my life. As a teenager in England, I marched against the fascist National Front and to abolish apartheid. As an undergraduate, I traveled around America and wrote my thesis about the civil rights movement with the help of the...
I thought Sacha Baron Cohen also was a huge Zionist, though. Like, I thought he, like, literally traveled with a Zionist troop in Israel. But his opinion on Israel has changed throughout time. Yeah. No. He used to be, like, much more hard, like a much bigger hardliner. And then... and then throughout time, I think his takes got a little different as like, because I remember him saying, I remember him posting about like some shit Israel was doing that he was not very happy about.
The archives of the ADL. And as a comedian, I've tried to use my characters to get people to let down their guard and reveal what they actually believe, including their own prejudice. Now, I'm not going to claim that everything I've done has been for a higher purpose. Yes, some of my comedy, okay, probably half my comedy has been absolutely juvenile. And the other half completely puerile. But I admit there was nothing particularly enlightening about me as Borat from Kazakhstan, the first fake news journalist, running through a conference of mortgage brokers while I was completely naked. But when Borat was able to get an entire bar in Arizona to sing, "Throw the Jew down the well," it did reveal people's indifference to anti-Semitism. When, as Bruno, the gay fashion reporter from Austria, I started kissing a man in a cage fight in Arkansas, nearly starting a riot, it showed the violent potential of homophobia. And when disguised as an ultra-woke developer, I proposed building a mosque in one rural community, prompting a resident to proudly admit, "I am against Muslims," it showed the growing acceptance of Islam. That's why I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. Today, around the world, demagogues appeal to our worst instincts. Conspiracy theories...
That was not Netflix. That was HBO, I think. Or it was Netflix. So, hold on. Was it Showtime? No, the Spy one, dude. The Spy was on Netflix. It's not on Showtime. Okay, so he was in the Zionist like socialist party in college. That's what I remember. But like they were the woke Zionists, you know what I mean? Like they were the ones who were like calling for a 2-state solution, and I think like calling the Israeli occupation an occupation. You know what I mean? I thought you meant the "Who is America" thing. No. How much credit does Cohen really deserve? I really like, dude. I respect him and I love him as an artist. Like I love his work. I don't give a shit what his like personal politics are. Strangely enough, Nick Mullen was involved writing the joke when he got that congressman to scream the N-word. Oh wait, was Nick a writer on that? Did he write on that show? Did he write on Who is America? Damn, I didn't even know. That's pretty crazy. He helped on that bit. He put me in an ice cream truck and drove me around like I didn't have rights in Borat. Fuck him.
Once confined to the fringe are going mainstream. It's as if the age of reason, the era of evidential argument is ending, and now knowledge is increasingly delegitimized and scientific consensus is dismissed. Democracy, which depends on shared truths, is in retreat, and autocracy, which depends on shared lies, is on the march. Hate crimes are surging, as are religious and ethnic minorities. Now, what do all these dangerous trends have in common? I'm just a comedian and an actor, I'm not a scholar, but one thing is pretty clear to me. All this hate and violence is being facilitated by a handful of internet companies that amount to the greatest propaganda machine in history.
He's talking about Facebook.
The greatest propaganda machine in history. Let's think about it. Facebook.
Bro, he's talking to ADL. Of course he's going to talk about Facebook. Bro, Mark Zuckerberg literally said that deniers were fine on his platform. The first time he came out about free speech, Mark Zuckerberg literally said, like, if you're a denier, like, well, that's just a difference in opinion. Like, I mean, obviously I'm Jewish and like, I don't care, but I mean, I don't like it, but like, you know, they should be able to do it on my platform.
YouTube and Google, Twitter and others. They reach billions of people. The algorithms these platforms depend on deliberately amplify the type of content that keeps users engaged. Stories that appeal to our baser instincts and that trigger outrage and fear. It's why YouTube recommended videos by the Alex Jones billions of times. It's why fake news outperforms real news, because studies show that lies spread faster than truth. And it's no surprise that the greatest propaganda machine in history has spread the oldest conspiracy theory in history, the lie that Jews are somehow dangerous. As one headline put it, just think what Goebbels could have done with Facebook. On the internet, everything can appear equally legitimate. Breitbart resembles the BBC. The fictitious protocols of the Elders of Zion look as valid as an ADL report, and the rantings of a lunatic seem as credible as the findings of a Nobel Prize winner. We have lost, it seems, a shared sense of basic facts upon which democracy depends. When I, as the wannabe gangster Ali G, asked the astronaut Buzz Aldrin, what was it like to walk on the sun? The joke worked because we, the audience, shared the same facts. If you believe the moon landing was a hoax, the joke doesn't work. When Borat got that bar in Arizona to agree that Jews control everybody's money and they never give it back, the joke worked because the audience...
Notice how no one laughed? Why would you do an anti-Semitic trope at the ADL conference, homie? Know your audience, dude. Literally in a room full of people who look for exactly what Borat does or exactly for those jokes and end careers over it, okay? No, I know that that's his point. Wait, ignoring Will? Wait, where is Will? Yo, Alex and Dan say you have herpes. What do you have to say for yourself? Also, can I have my hemorrhoid cream back? Thanks, Will, you child.
Shared the fact that the depiction of Jews as miserly is a conspiracy theory originating in the Middle Ages. But when, thanks to social media, conspiracies take hold, it is easier for hate groups to recruit, easier for foreign intelligence agencies to interfere in our elections, and easier for a country like Myanmar to commit against the Rohingya. Now, it's actually quite shocking how easy it is to turn conspiracy thinking into violence. In my last show, Who is America, I found an educated, normal guy who had held down a good job, but who, on social media, repeated many of the conspiracy theories that President Trump, using Twitter, has spread more than 1,700 times to his 67 million Twitter followers. The president even tweeted that he was considering designating Antifa, who are who march against the far right, as a terror organization. So, disguised as an Israeli anti-terrorism expert, Colonel Eran Morad, yalla, let's go. Disguised as him, I told my interviewee that at the Women's March in San Francisco, Antifa were plotting to put hormones into babies' diapers in order to make them transgender. And this man believed it. I instructed him to plant small devices on 3 innocent people at the march and explained that when he pushed a button, he'd trigger an explosion that would kill them all. They weren't real explosives, of course, but he thought they were. I wanted to see, would he actually do it? The answer was yes. He pushed the button and thought he had actually killed 3 human beings. Voltaire was right when he said, "Those who can make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities." And social media lets authoritarians push absurdities to billions of people. Now, in their defense, these social media companies have taken some steps to reduce hate and conspiracies on their platforms, but these steps have been mainly superficial. And I'm talking about this today because I believe that our pluralistic democracies are on a precipice, and then the next 12 months and the role of social media could be determinant. Now, British voters will go to the polls while online promote the despicable theory of the Great Replacement, that white Christians are being deliberately replaced by Muslim immigrants. Americans will vote for president while trolls and bots perpetuate the disgusting lie of a Hispanic invasion. And after years of YouTube videos calling climate change a hoax, the United States is on track a year from now to formally withdraw from the Paris Accords. A sewer of bigotry and vile conspiracy theories.
For all the leftists in the chat who are annoyed with Sacha Baron Cohen, he used to be a socialist in his youth, and I don't know if his opinion has changed since then, but I'm fairly certain that he still maintains like a lot of anti-capitalist opinions. And the reason why he's not approaching this from a materialist lens and talking about how like immigration is being utilized as a red herring, or these kinds of lies are only able to be perpetuated in an endless cycle where the real problem is actually the exploitation under capitalism, and all that stuff, is because he knows his audience. It's because he's at the EDL.
That threaten our democracy and to some degree our planet. This can't possibly be what the creators of the internet had in mind. I believe that it's time for a fundamental...
Did I say EDL? No, I meant ADL, sorry. Not EDL. ADL is not EDL. No, he fought EDL in his youth. He fought in the UK. He talked about it already. Oops.
Media and how it spreads hate.
Yeah, he's speaking to right now.
Now, last month, however, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook delivered a major speech that, not surprisingly, warned against new laws and regulations on companies like his. Well, some of these arguments are simply, pardon my French, let's count the ways. First, Zuckerberg tried to portray this whole issue as choices around free expression. That is ludicrous. This is not about limiting anyone's free speech. This is about giving people, including some of the most reprehensible people on earth, the biggest platform in history to reach 1/3 of the planet. Freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. Sadly, there will always be misogynists, anti-Semites, and child abusers. But I think we can all agree that we should not be giving a free platform to amplify their views and target their victims.
Anti-semantics.
Second, Mark Zuckerberg claimed that new limits on what's posted on social media would be to pull back on free expression. This is utter nonsense. The First Amendment says that, and I quote, Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. However, this does not apply to private businesses like Facebook. We're not asking these companies to determine the boundaries of free speech across society. We just want them to be responsible on their platforms.
You don't
now, if a
love the
neo-Nazi
spirit of
comes
justice.
goose-stepping into
You
a restaurant
love your father,
and
the
starts
devil.
threatening other customers and saying he wants the Jews,
Thank you, actual Jake.
would the owner of the restaurant, a private business, be required to serve him an elegant 8-course meal? Of course not. The restaurant owner has every legal right, and indeed, I would argue, a moral obligation to kick that Nazi out. And so do these internet companies. Now, third, Mark Zuckerberg seemed to equate regulation of companies like his to the actions of the most repressive societies. Incredible. This from one of the 6 people who decide what information so much of the world sees. Zuckerberg at Facebook, Sundar Pichai at Google, at its parent company, Alphabet, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Brin's ex-sister-in-law, Susan Wojcicki at YouTube, and Jack Dorsey at Twitter. The Silicon Six. All billionaires, all Americans who care more about boosting their share price than about protecting democracy. This is ideological imperialism. 6 unelected individuals in Silicon Valley imposing their vision on the rest of the world, unaccountable to any government and acting like they're...
Not true, dude. These companies routinely censor in other countries. They routinely censor, like they even go so far as to censor gay content or LGBT content in other countries in accordance with whatever their expectations are, because they are motivated by profit.
Above the reach of law. It's like we're living in the Roman Empire and Mark Zuckerberg is Caesar. At least that would explain his haircut.
No, that's not what he said. He said that they operate as though, no, he said they operate as though they are like above the law in all these other countries, when it's not true. They routinely work in reactionary ways. They routinely censor for reactionary points of view. That doesn't make what he said not true. They do that by choice. But he said they operate to maximize shares. Okay. They censored a dude who says the N-word in private. What? No, they didn't.
Now, here's an idea. Instead of letting the Silicon Six decide the fate of the world, let our elected representatives, voted for by the people of every democracy in the world, have at least some say. Fourth, Zuckerberg speaks of welcoming a diversity of ideas. And last year he gave us an example. He said that he found posts denying the...
Yeah, I did a piece on this.
But he didn't think Facebook should take them down because I think there are things that different people get wrong. At this very moment, there are still deniers on Facebook.
Denial is not a simple difference in opinion, okay? Denial is just the single easiest way to identify or determine that a person is a fascist. That's it. That's it. It's just like, it's not like, oh, I have a different take on this issue. Just like denying the Armenians. Denying the Armenians is also bad, you idiot. Why would I have a different opinion on that?
And Google still takes you to the most repulsive denial sites with a simple click. One of the heads of Google, in fact, told me that these sites just show both sides of the issue. This is madness. To quote Edward R. Murrow, one cannot accept that there are on every story 2 equal and logical sides to an argument. We have, unfortunately, millions of pieces of evidence for that. It is an historical fact. And denying it is not some random opinion. Those who deny the
are doing it
aim
deliberately
to encourage another one.
Yeah. People who deny the do it deliberately.
Still, Zuckerberg says that people should decide what is credible, not tech companies. But at a time when 2/3 of millennials say that they haven't even heard of Auschwitz, how are they supposed to know what's credible? How are they supposed to know that the lie is a lie? There is such a thing as objective truth. Facts do exist. And if these internet companies really want to make a difference, they should hire enough monitors to actually monitor.
You don't love
Work
the spirit of
closely
justice.
with groups like
You
the
love
ADL
your
and
father,
the
the
NAACP, insist on facts and purge these lies and conspiracies from their platforms.
What
Now,
the
when discussing the difficulty of removing content, Mark Zuckerberg asked, where do you draw the line? Yes, drawing the line can be difficult. But here's what he's really saying. Removing more of these lies and conspiracies is just too expensive. These are the richest companies in the world, and they have the best engineers in the world. They could fix these problems if they wanted to. Twitter could deploy an algorithm to remove more white supremacist hate speech, but they have reportedly haven't because it would eject some very prominent politicians from their platform. Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing.
dude?
The truth is,
I can see so many malding at this. Like, oh, their ADL is like anti-free speech, and they're having a conference with like a bunch of Jewish people talking about silencing our speech. Did you see that they don't want the algorithm because to differentiate between? Yeah, of course. So, of course, the problem with the ADL is that they 100% go overboard. Like they do. While I was applauding PewDiePie giving money to the ADL, I still also talked about and at the time warned about how like the ADL does the ADL does go routinely after Palestinian activists and considers BDS to be like anti-Semitic. Yeah, and then he pulled back. PewDiePie pulled back because they were upset. ADL is the Anti-Defamation League, and it is a like nonprofit that combats anti-Semitism. It is, you Heeb hater. Okay, bro. Good bait, dude. BTS? No, BDS, dude. God damn it, these acronyms, dude. BDS. BDS, not BTS. ADL has a tendency to go after critics of Israel and conflate anti-Zionism or anti-Zionist action or any sort of criticisms against Israel as anti-Semitism. And that is a huge problem, especially because the literal equivalent of that would be if we were to say, like, Saudi Arabia committing Yemen is something that you cannot criticize because that is Islamophobic. Literally. Like imagine if I said stuff like, hey man, MBS is and what Saudi Arabia is doing is really fucking Yemen. They shouldn't do that. And then someone turned around and was like, wow, that's really Islamophobic of you. It just would not happen. That would never happen, right? I'm saying that would never happen. No one would ever consider that to be Islamophobic, and it isn't. Just like criticizing Israel and its consistent denial of human rights to Palestinians that they have taken under their sovereignty by force is a moral obligation and definitely not anti-Semitic. ADL aren't anti-BDS? No, not BDSM. BDS. Boycott, divest, and sanctions on Israel.
these companies won't fundamentally change because their entire business model relies on generating more engagement, and nothing generates more engagement than lies, fear, and outrage. So it's time to finally call these companies what they really are, the largest publishers in history. So here's an idea for them. Abide by basic standards and practices, just like newspapers, magazines, and TV news do every day. We have standards and practices in television and the movies. There are certain things we cannot say or do. In England, I was told that Ali G could not curse when he appeared before 9 p.m. Here in the US, the Motion Picture Association of America regulates and rates what we see. I've had scenes in my movies cut or reduced to abide by those standards.
You don't love the spirit of justice.
You
love your father's
television channels can show, then surely companies that publish material to billions of people should have to abide basic standards and practices too. Take the issue of political ads, on which Facebook have been resolute. Fortunately, Twitter finally banned them. And Google, today I read, is making changes too. But if you pay them, Facebook will run any political ad you want, even if it's a lie. And they'll even help you micro-target those lies to their users for maximum effect. Under this twisted logic, if Facebook were around in the 1930s, it would have allowed Hitler to post 30-second ads on his solution to the Jewish problem.
Wait, okay. Yeah, no, what does Sacha Baron Cohen think, like, happened with newspapers at the time? Yeah, I know. I'm confused. I guess he's saying that, like, it's an ongoing problem from back then, and it did happen back then.
So here's a good standard and practice. Facebook, start fact-checking political ads before you run them. Stop micro-targeted lies immediately. And when the ads are false, give back the money and don't publish them.
Thank you, Granny Dearest.
Here's
Giving such good shoulder,
practice.
dear. Bless you. What the
Slow down. Every single post does not need to be published immediately. Oscar Wilde once said, "We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessity." But let me ask you, is having every thought or video posted instantly online, even if it's criminal or murderous, really a necessity? Of course not. The shooter who massacred Muslims in New Zealand live streamed his atrocity on Facebook, where it then spread across the internet and was viewed likely millions of times. It was a snuff film brought to you by social media. Why can't we have more of a delay so that this trauma-inducing filth can...
My big fear with this, I agree with everything he's saying, but my big fear with this always is like fascism and white nationalism and is not or does not pose a threat to the established status quo or the established liberal capitalist order, in the same sense that a staunch anti-capitalist stance does. This is precisely why throughout history, most government institutions and the publishers that they control and every avenue of information have been processed through the lens that he's talking about, where Nazi rhetoric was made acceptable or deemed acceptable when communist rhetoric was not. We have literal examples of this with McCarthyism here in the United States, or with the FBI and our intelligence communities literally working with the KKK and trying to divert and subvert left-wing movements in this country. So the problem then turns into, if we start censoring these sorts of opinions, they're not going to censor the Nazis. They're just going to censor the left, as they have done throughout history. So I don't know. This is why I have a genuine fear about this sort of thing. Just the left? What? I mean, this happens already. Why do you think, while he's talking, we are currently having a conversation right now at the ADL about banning from this platform? This is a point of contention. Why is there not a point of contention about the already banned many Palestinian activists from all of these platforms? Why is it not a point of contention when Twitter decides to take Maduro's account away at the behest of our intelligence community because we have a interest? Foreign capital has an interest in Venezuela. This is not a whataboutism example that I'm giving you. This is a literal example from real life. This is why, on the one hand, I understand cleaning up the avenues of information. But on the other hand, I am always fearful that these avenues of information are already being cleansed. But they're being cleansed from leftist analysis, and because, again, and I repeat this, do not pose a threat to the established order, not being wiped out. So that's always my fear, and that's why I always think we should be very careful when we talk about regulating these platforms. I don't have a problem with like regulating Nazi speech, and I totally understand where Sacha Baron Cohen is coming from. And you can call me a lib all you want if you want. As far as like if we don't have an established understanding of what the facts are, like we do, for example, in this little community that I have on Twitch. The reason why I'm not fearful of making phrenology jokes when it comes to like cop skulls and while I make fun of phrenology in and of itself, partially, is because like I understand that you guys know that phrenology isn't a real science. Phrenology is a widely criticized and completely race realist science. Phrenology, it's skull measurement, like the measurement of craniums and stuff. How does it feel to sound like Russia today? Okay, dude. Yeah, I love Russia. So anyway, yeah, I love capitalist oligopoly, anti-LGBT Russia. It's my favorite, dude. Yeah, it's my favorite. I love governments that are also exactly as corrupt as the United States is, in very transparent ways that openly oppress their citizens and don't offer them civil liberties. It's my favorite thing. I criticize it here in America, but totally okay with it when it happens in Russia, dude. Stop clip chimps can get only so hard. I mean, if they think that this is serious, then I don't know what the... Wasn't Sam Harris peddling that race science? He was. He is absolutely complicit in the rise of white nationalism on the internet. What you're saying is why you're allowed to march in the streets with guns, but holy shit, imagine if Antifa did that. Yeah, it would never happen. And that's precisely why this administration and other administrations historically have attacked the left while allowed the right-wing and white nationalist movements to continue practicing freely and openly. Have you seen Vosh's video on Destiny's Bolivia takes? He blew Destiny's... No, I didn't, and I don't care. Like, I've talked about Bolivia endlessly on this platform, dude. Like, you guys know what has happened in Bolivia. I've talked about it endlessly. I don't care about what Destiny's take is, and I don't care about like someone blowing Destiny's take the out. Yeah, dude. No way, dude. Why is France and UK let Germany hang around? Because USSR was a bigger threat than liberalism skews, right? Okay, right on what metric are we talking about, though? Like, because there are still way better... There are still some laws, at least, in place against these places as well. What are your takes on Bolivia? I'm so glad that democracy has been restored, and sometimes freedom ain't free. And, you know... sometimes an indigenous person gets to a position of power, and then all of a sudden he wants to fight for the rights of 65% of the population, and you know, you got to restore democracy by force at that point, by storming and doxing public officials and making them flee the country, even though those public officials were originally like, hey, we can bring the OAS in here and take a look at the election results, and then the OAS doesn't even have to provide any sort of real evidence to say that there was election meddling, and that's enough for the opposition to be like, we're going in, despite the fact that Morales and his administration has openly said, hey, let's do another re-election. It's okay. We can have third parties come in and take a look at it, and the opposition, which was like tied together by string, essentially, decided that wasn't good enough. So now a person who is deeply unpopular, who would never, ever, ever in a million years been able to win like any sort of power in the country, is now the interim president. Very cool. And has openly allowed and sanctioned the police and military force to protesters, which is pretty tight. That's what democracy is, my boys. Now, having said that, Is Evo Morales perfect? Of course not, especially in regards to the way he has handled indigenous rights, especially in regards to the way he has handled, but Cybertruck, yeah, I know. Especially in regards to the way he has been criticized widely by indigenous groups as well for leaving them behind. He's been criticized by like local governments for the way he has dealt with specifically lithium. And like lithium extraction in the country, which he was going to go back to. Whose third party you moron? Russian observers? Wait, do you consider the European Union to be Russian observers? Because if so, then sure, I guess that's what he was saying. Anyway, yeah, the European Union I mean, not EU, the UN. Sorry, those Russian observers over at the United Nations, and the OAS. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, Morales has been criticized by indigenous groups as well, but there's no viable alternative, as far as I understand. There's no viable popular alternative to Morales, and he was still more popular than all the other opposition groups, and even a coalition that they tried to put together, as far as I understand. Now, you can be upset that his Supreme Court decided to abolish term limits because it was a human rights violation. That's, I think, not great. I mean, I don't think that's a good enough reason. We can have a conversation about whether or not that was legitimate. What Morales did as far as like abolishing term limits. I think it's kind of silly to override a referendum by taking it up to the Supreme Court, but the counter to that is never, yeah, let's just allow a military takeover to plant a right-wing Christian fascist government backed by right-wing Christian fascist militias on the ground as they indigenous protesters. Seems really dumb, but also it's almost a classic at this point. You know, it's one of those greatest hits. Catholic, not Christian. Thinks EU and the UN is the same. No, I said EU first, and then I changed it to UN. But the difference is you made up that Morales wanted Russia to be in control of the election results. You totally made that up. You're a liar. I might be a boomer, but you're a liar, and you're just here to troll, and you're completely uneducated on the matter that you try to speak of, despite the fact that you have every opportunity to Google and come back to me with actual information. So that's kind of pathetic, dude. Like... Anyway, so yeah, I think it's kind of like a parallel that you can draw that I've drawn here before when comparing the situation to the United States is if, let's say, that the American Supreme Court decided that there was going to be no term limits and Barack Obama was going to get a fourth term instead of Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump with the help of like, what's a nation that Americans would be pissed off by? Donald Trump with the help of, libs hate Russia. Donald Trump with the help of the Russian, like with Russian backing or like a Russian-backed third party decided that it was like anti-democratic. And then Barack Obama was like, okay, well, let's have another re-election then. It's fine. And then Donald Trump was like, no, that. We're just taking over the government. And then Barack Obama had to flee. And your country was thrown into this chaotic mess. I don't think that would be a better outcome than just letting Barack Obama have a fourth term, or better, letting Barack Obama call for another re-election, right? I'm just saying, the situation in Bolivia is because the opposition had no interest in an actual fair and free election because they knew they didn't have enough popularity and they didn't have a broad enough support for their coalition against Morales, who was diminishing in his support, but still much more popular than even the opposition coalition. So knowing that, they decided, well, who gives a f, we could just take over. And they did exactly that. And this is exactly the kind of that makes me understand why Marxist-Leninists decide that there needs to be some violence when you're maintaining control, and some form of like messaging suppression too on top of that. Look at established nation states that still can maintain some form of like socialist control, I guess, in a global capitalist world. Like what? We got Cuba. Okay, sick. Well, I think the right way to approach this is through reform, through a series of reforms. American interference is far too powerful. Western capitalist interference is far too powerful. Capital flight is far too powerful. The international banking authorities are far too powerful. So it's just it sucks. You decide nothing and your talk costs nothing. Yeah, well, you don't have to watch it then. Is everyone on Twitch disassociated with you? I don't see you on any of the podcasts anymore. Do you not get invited, or do you not go because Steven is there? No, I like to do my own thing. Like Raj invites me. Raj asks me to do shows with him all the time. I just want to be able to stream on my own. I'm growing my own platform here. So I like to watch reality TV on stream, dude. Exactly. Also, like, I don't really enjoy the podcast. I'm going to keep it real. I think that podcasts are great. Like, it's good for growing your audience and stuff, but they're too long. And I get tired. Honestly, Capital Flight is not as big a deal as people make it out to be. Capital Flight is not as big a deal. Da, da, da. That's not true. I think it is definitely true. Do you listen to any other than Chapo / Not Cumtown podcast? Yeah, Deconstructed with Mehdi Hasan. Jeremy Scahill's podcast, The Intercepted. What else do I listen to? I listen to The Daily when I want to get really angry at manufacturing consent. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's what I listen to. Did you watch the Corbyn question time today? No, I didn't. Morales got term limits abolished by the courts after losing the referendum. So ethnic cleansing has to happen, I guess. Yeah, I know. I said that. That's exactly. That is what it is. That's democracy, baby. Do you listen to any health podcasts? No. I'm kind of new to this whole online political left movement, but do you think you're further left than Kyle Kalinske? Yes. Useful Idiots with Matt Taibbi. Wait, Matt Taibbi has a new podcast with Katie Halper? One of my favorite podcasts of all time was discontinued, which is a Tarfer report. I love Matt Taibbi, and I love Alex Alex Perrine. Yeah, Alex Perrine has a new article that's pretty good, I heard. I haven't had time to read it yet. You don't watch Sam Cedar? Not as much as I used to. I don't really have a lot of time to watch Sam Cedar when I'm streaming for 9-10 hours every day, which is what I've been doing. And I'm at the precipice of my 10th hour right now. Twitch lets me see if I can find the WAD. Jamie was in LA a few months ago and came on. Yeah. Alex was on MR today. Yeah, I saw. It still comes up on my screen and I watch it when I have time, but I didn't have any time to watch it. You gonna go to sleep soon? Maybe. Doo-doo Daphne. Oh my god, I forgot. Ha 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 ha. I'm getting dessert. Sorry. Dead to me, dude. Dead to me. Dead. Let's finish this.
Caught and stopped before it's posted.
Weasley little liar, dude.
Spirit of justice. You love your
Thank you, Overlord Goomy.
ILY Papa Piker.
Finally, Zuckerberg said that social media companies should live up to their responsibilities. But he's totally silent about what should happen when they don't. By now, it's pretty clear they cannot be trusted to regulate themselves. As with the Industrial Revolution, it's time for regulation and legislation to curb the greed of these high-tech robber barons. In every other industry, a company can be held liable when their product is defective. When engines explode or seatbelts malfunction, car companies recall tens of thousands of vehicles at a cost of billions of dollars. It only seems fair to say to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, your product is defective. You are obliged to fix it, no matter how much it costs and no matter how many moderators you need to employ. In every other industry, you can be sued for the harm you cause. Publishers can be sued for libel. People can be sued for defamation. I've been sued many times. I'm being sued right now by someone whose name I won't mention because he might sue me again. But social media companies are largely protected from liability for the content their users post, no matter how indecent it is, by Section 230, get ready for it, the Communications Decency Act. It's absurd. Fortunately, internet companies can now be held responsible for use their site to target children. So I say, let's also hold these companies responsible for those who use their sites to advocate for the mass murder of children because of their race or religion. And maybe fines are not enough. Maybe it's time to tell Mark Zuckerberg and the CEOs of these companies, you already allowed one foreign power to interfere in our elections. You already facilitated one in Myanmar. Do it again and you go to jail.
Damn, libs, dude.
In the end, it all comes down to what kind of world we want. In his speech, Zuckerberg said that one of his main goals is to uphold as wide a definition of freedom of expression as possible. It sounds good. Yet our freedoms are not only an end in themselves, they're also the means to another end. As you say here in the US, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But today, these rights are threatened by hate, conspiracies, and lies. So allow me to leave you with a suggestion for a different aim for society. The ultimate aim of society should be to make sure that people are not targeted, not harassed, and not murdered because of who they are, where they come from, who they love, or how they pray. If we make that our aim, if we prioritize truth over lies, tolerance over prejudice, empathy over indifference, and experts over ignoramuses, then maybe, just maybe, we can stop the greatest propaganda machine in history. We can save democracy, we can still have a place for free speech and free expression, and most importantly, my jokes will still work. Thank you very much.